let me just start out by making a point that too many people forget, and I insist that you never forget. 3 years ago, we had the lowest number of border crossings in decades. And there was a reason why we had such a low number of border crossings 3 years ago. It's because we had a president who had implemented 4 very simple policies that led to that dramatic decrease in illegal border crossings. One is to end catch and release. Another is to implement Title 42. Another is to implement the Remain in Mexico policy. And the other is to build a border wall. And maybe you could add to that an attitude that if you want to come to the United States of America, come here legally, not illegally. And as soon as President Biden took office, he eliminated all of those policies that President Trump put in place and also issued basically an open invitation to anybody in the world that they can come here to the United States and cross our border illegally with no consequences. And the result was extraordinarily predictable. And that is, this past year, we saw the highest number of illegal immigrants ever who were apprehended coming across our border. Well, Texas is stepping up. And we have done more than any state has ever done. And there's a reason for it. Texans, as well as our fellow Americans, they are furious about the lawlessness caused by President Biden's open border policies. And they should be angry about that. And it's because of that that I declared border security to be an emergency item this session for us to not only address, but to address quickly because of the need for us to be even more proactive to deal with the border. There are several reasons why we need to be more proactive. The upcoming elimination of Title 42 is going to be bringing even more people across our border. It is expected to expire in May. According to federal estimates themselves, they said that once Title 42 is eliminated, we can expect up to 18,000 people crossing the border a day. Calculate that, and that would be more than 6 million people crossing the border a year because of the elimination of this one last bar to people coming across the border. The magnet will just continue to increase. And we're seeing that occur as we speak. In January, the numbers are always low about the number of people coming across the border. We've already seen upticks in what has happened from January to February. And we have information about people who are in Central America right now making their way toward the border. And we are working on strategies to make sure that Texas is going to be prepared. To the extent that any of this information gets beyond our borders, we're sending a message today. And that is, if you're coming toward the United States of America and you are thinking about crossing our border and you're thinking about making your border crossing in the state of Texas, you're picking the wrong state to enter into or to try to enter into, because we're going to do everything we can to keep you out of our border, to keep you out of our country. But I want to give you an example of how the increase has occurred in just the time period since right before Biden took office till today. In February of 2020, in the 1 week, February the 12th of 2020, in the entire border, there were 3,985 people apprehended. Is that entire border? The Texas border. 3,000, so under 4,000 people apprehended coming across the Texas border in February of 20, which was the last February that President Trump was in office. The first February that Biden was in office, it went from 3,985 to 13,672 in just 1 week in February, that very same week. And then the year after that, that very same week, it jumped to 21,560. And so it went up about fivefold, 5 times in just that 1 week period, year after year after year, because of Biden's open border policies. Well, what Texas has done is we have deployed the Texas National Guard far more than any state ever in the history of the United States of America to repel and to turn back people who are trying to cross the border illegally. We have deployed the Texas Department of Public Safety, and they have arrested more than 25,000 criminals who got past the Border Patrol. Had DPS not been on the border making these arrests, there would have been dangerous criminals who got away into the United States or into the state of Texas that would have posed a very serious danger to our populace. And so we thank DPS for doing that. In addition to that, altogether, they have apprehended more than 330,000 gotaways who got away from the Border Patrol or otherwise got through the gaps. And so once again, had DPS and the National Guard not been there, that would have been hundreds of thousands of more people who were able to get into the country illegally. But most prolifically is what DPS has done with fentanyl, because DPS alone has seized enough fentanyl to kill every man, woman, and child in the entire United States of America. Had DPS not seized that fentanyl that got past Border Patrol, there's no telling how many Americans would have died because of that fentanyl spread across the streets of our country. Also, to accelerate the crackdown on the Mexican drug cartels, the real cause of all of this, I declared them as terrorist organizations to empower Texas law enforcement to use advanced strategies to go after not just the cartels, but all of their assets that are here in the state of Texas, so we can do everything possible to put these Mexican drug cartels out of business. And then to help relieve small border towns, Del Rio and places like that, that have no capability to house and take care of the thousands of migrants who are dropped in their communities by Border Patrol. That led to the busing operation to relieve the congestion in these small communities where we are busing the migrants that were dropped off by Border Patrol to self-identified sanctuary cities in other parts of the United States. It is kind of interesting that one of the locations where we were dropping them off to, New York, condemned Texas for busing them to New York, only to learn that New York is now busing them to Canada. And then on top of all that, Texas is the only state in the history of the United States of America that it has ever built its own border wall. We have been in the process over the past year of acquiring rights on land owned by private landowners that will allow us to accelerate the process of building the border wall over this coming year. There is a possibility, depending upon how the construction process works, where by the end of this calendar year, Texas as a state may have added more border wall than the Trump administration did for the United States of America during his 4 years in office. Bottom line is that the Texas National Guard and DPS troopers, they are working around the clock under the leadership of Major General Seltzer and Colonel McCraw. And now also, Texas has done something no state has ever done. I announced last month that we have our own border czar, the man to my left, Mike Banks. He served in the Border Patrol in leadership positions for about 23 years, and he brings a high level of expertise. It's important to emphasize that on his first day in office, he spent more time on the border as the Texas border czar than Kamala Harris, the federal border czar, has spent in years in office. Not just that, but he operates right here out of Weslaco. And he's up and down the border every single day, working and collaborating not just with DPS and the National Guard, but working with local officials, whether they be mayors or county commissioners or sheriffs. And so Texas as a state is now operating more in sync with local communities better than we ever have because of the role of coordinator that Mike Banks, the Texas Border Czar, is playing. And very importantly, listen, this is an issue for the state of Texas to deal with. And we have to deal with it only because the federal government is not doing its job. And now that we're in session, we have the leadership of the state legislature that are fully engaged. And with us include Senator Birdwell and Representative Guillen. And I appreciate what they've done before. They've already issued analyses and reports even long before today about what's going on the border. But we will be working in collaboration with them over the course of the remainder of the session on this emergency item to make sure that Texas is doing everything we possibly can to secure the border. It's not a button. I want to thank everybody for joining with us here today for a landmark announcement. First of all, I want to thank the folks who are with us, including Major General Seltzer, who is the Adjutant General for the Texas National Guard. We have Colonel Steve McCraw, who is the Director of the Texas Department of Public Safety. We have Eddie Betancourt, a Commissioner with the Texas Facilities Commission. And we have a special guest I will introduce you to here shortly. First, I'll tell you this, and that is building a border wall and adding hundreds of miles of other barriers is only one way that Texas is responding to President Biden's refusal to enforce the immigration laws of the United States of America. We have turned back more than 32,000 illegal immigrants trying to cross into our country. We've arrested more than 24,000 criminals. We have seized enough fentanyl to kill every man, woman, and child in the entire United States of America. And we have targeted the cartels that profit off of the illegal immigration policies of President Biden. Well, combating illegal immigration in Texas is a full-time job. It's a job that requires a leader whose only focus is responding to President Biden's open border policies. Today, I'm announcing a border czar to fulfill that mission. We found the right person for the job in Mike Banks. Mike Banks is an award-winning Border Patrol agent. He has held important Border Patrol leadership positions for more than 20 years, serving under 4 presidents. He has served on the border here in the Rio Grande Valley, as well as in Arizona and California, and at the United States Border Patrol headquarters in Washington, D.C. He retired from the Border Patrol about 10 days ago. Mike has seen firsthand the struggles of ranchers and communities caused by open borders. He understands the dangerous impact that Mexican drug cartels have on our country, the human trafficking, the drug running, and well as the smuggling of deadly drugs like fentanyl. He's worked with mayors and other governmental leaders in both the United States and in Mexico. He has collaborated with the United States military, ICE, the National Guard, DPS, as well as local law enforcement. Mike will work in the Office of Governor for the state of Texas and report directly to me. He will be headquartered in the border region in Weslaco, Texas. He will travel frequently up and down the border as well as around the state as needed. Mike will tap his expertise to deploy strategies that reduce illegal immigration and keep our community safe. He will work on things like the surge operation like we used in El Paso last month. He will collaborate with the National Guard and DPS as well as other state agencies, along with local officials and landowners on other border security measures. And he will work with the Facilities Commission to accelerate the building of the border wall in Texas. Texas, we're not going to stand idly by while the Biden administration refuses to enforce the immigration laws. As our border czar, Mike Banks will work with stakeholders and communities, law enforcement on the streets, to enforce the laws on the books and drive down illegal crossings. He has a proven record of going toe-to-toe with the cartels and winning. Now, he will bring that winning record to help protect Texas from Biden's open border policies. So I'll introduce to you Mike Banks.
Thank you, Governor. As the Governor said, I'm extremely humbled to be selected by the Governor for this opportunity. Protecting national security and protecting the borders of this nation has been something that I have dedicated the last 23 years of my life to, and I'm very passionate about it. I look forward to continue working with our stakeholders, our law enforcement partners in the community, and leveraging everything we can to further protect our great state of Texas and the United States. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Steve McCraw, Director of the Texas Department of Public Safety.
Thank you. Mike, welcome to the Texas team. I think you know very well, and we were discussing earlier, that no state has done more to support the men and women of Border Patrol and its mission in the state of Texas. And no governor has dedicated more time and energy and effort in terms of public safety, homeland security, and border security than Governor Greg Abbott. I think you'll feel comfortable here. You also find out we get along here in Texas and get things done. In fact, I'm not taking a shot at our esteemed members in the U.S. Congress, but I can tell you this, is that Texas State Legislature gets done more in 6 months than they do in 2 years, plain and simple. And under the governor's leadership and continued support, we'll do what we can to do everything we can to protect Texas from all things and all threats, foreign and domestic. Thank you.
And now Major General Seltzer.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon, everyone. Major General Tom Seltzer. The Texas National Guard has forces arrayed across the Texas-Mexico border from El Paso down to Brownsville in this unprecedented effort to secure the border and prevent, detect, and interdict transnational criminal activity along our border. To that end, we've produced over 130 miles of barrier, consisting of 72 miles of 8-foot fencing with razor wire, including 58 miles of concertina wire. Most recently, you may have seen, with the help of our partners, we erected anti-climb fencing along the river in the El Paso area in order to block the flow of illegal immigration into downtown El Paso and further to the east, the dangerous crossing on Highway 375 into the El Paso area. Additionally, we continue to work with DPS on the river in boats, at security points, and also in the brush to stop the smuggling of people, drugs, and weapons into Texas. Additionally, we're increasing our drone program by increasing our number of small unmanned aircraft systems to 28 aircraft. We're currently training additional FAA certified pilots to fly those drones to increase our effort on the border. And lastly, I applaud the governor for selecting Mr. Michael Banks to be the border czar. We look forward to working with you, Michael, in securing the Texas border.
Can I see a second? I don't know what on here to push this time. Sure, I get that. But I would do it again. But what on here do I push? Right there. All right. And next we have Commissioner Betancourt with the Texas Facilities Commission.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you for coming. It's been a great team effort at Texas Facilities Commission. My name is Eddie Betancourt. I'm a commissioner. Ever since a year and a half ago, we started this program, and we've come a long way. We have a great team in our staff, and we're looking forward to work with Mike here Whatever you need, Mike, we're at service. Governor, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for what you guys are doing. We'll take a few questions. Go ahead. Can I get you to start the sentence again?
For the funds allocated
Yeah.
to the Laredo area border wall, $224 million for a 9-mile stretch, roughly $24 million per mile. What can you say about the steps that are being taken to reduce the cost of the border wall as you continue these projects?
So, first of all, you are right. Our estimation as we build the border wall is that it will cost approximately $25 million per mile. That varies depending upon the location. Part of that is the materials for the wall. Part of it is the cost of acquiring the rights to be able to build the wall on land. One thing that has slowed our process a little bit is getting those rights to build the wall. With the work of the Facilities Commission, we have accelerated that process of acquiring the land rights, and now we're able to build even more wall going forward. Go ahead.
Mayorkas today in Florida is praising the humanitarian parole and apprehensions down at the border and saying it's not necessary for the lawsuit against the humanitarian parole. Your take on it?
The use of the parole system by the Biden administration is completely illegal, completely contrary to already existing federal law. We filed a lawsuit against it. I'm going to tell you, we're going to win that lawsuit, just like we've won our other lawsuits against the Biden administration. It's the Biden administration that's acting lawlessly as it concerns the border, and it's their policies, like this parole policy, that will attract even more people to cross the border illegally, and that's one of the reasons why Texas needs a border czar today.
He claims 90% down on apprehensions.
So again, just like the Biden administration has misled America by saying that the border is open, the Biden administration is misleading America by talking about a reduction in the number of people coming across the border this month. The reason is because every January is the kind of the lowest month for border crossings. And if you just look at cycles, because of the Biden administration's actions, we can expect those numbers to increase dramatically in spring and in the summer.
A lot of people who are getting humanitarian parole are not jumping the river. They're not going in between ports of entry. They're signing up with CBP 1, or they're getting access to a lawyer, and that's not really needed these days. How do you address that? When people come, they wait in line, they fill out the application, and then they get in. And again, humanitarian parole, people are not jumping the river, and those numbers are beginning to show that.
You're incorrect in what your assessment is of the numbers. To be clear, humanitarian parole applies to 4 countries and only 30,000 people from each of those countries. It doesn't apply to all the other people from those 4 countries, and does not apply to the people who are coming from 150 different countries across the globe. There are people who will continue to come across the river. However, again, our goal is, because the Biden administration has these border policies that attract more people to come here lawlessly, we need to have a czar who's going to be in charge of helping us protect the border here in the state of Texas, someone with a proven record of doing exactly that as a Border Patrol agent.
Does the state of Texas have an issue?
Okay.
Does the state of Texas have an issue with people using CBP 1? Do you have an issue with that?
With people using,
CBP 1, the application to apply to come across.
yeah. So any way that the Biden administration violates federal law to attract more people to cross the border is a way that will just do nothing more than increase illegal immigration, as opposed to following the immigration laws already on the books. You all may recall that I was in El Paso at the president's request. He asked me to be there on the tarmac to greet him, and I did so. And I gave him a letter. And in that letter contained 5 bullet points. Among those 5 bullet points were laws that are already in existence that the Biden administration is violating. And I asked the president, please just enforce the laws already on the books. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, this is a question for the czar, if that's all right?
Sure. Go ahead and sit down.
Mr. Banks, can you tell me what some of your priorities are as border czar, and how you plan to transition with federal laws and state laws?
So for me, the number one priority is to make the state of Texas the least desirable place for illegal immigration to cross, right? I don't think it's going to be that difficult, right? It's the exact same thing. I'm going to apply the applicable laws that are out there that should be applied, you know, within my ability. Working with the Texas Guard, I worked with the federal guard as the patrol agent in charge of the Wesco Border Patrol Station, as the patrol agent in charge of the McAllen Border Patrol Station. So we worked with the federal military troops. Now I'm going to be working with the state military department. We've worked with DPS, both from the federal level and now at the state level. So I don't think it's going to be a very difficult transition at all, right? It's just, we just need to be more aggressive.
Two more questions. Governor, after how much is it going to cost, and also
Sure. Is it 1.3? So first of all, this particular segment is going to be 1.5 miles, and the cost of a wall in general is about $25 million a mile on average across the board. The reason why this wall is located here, and the reason why you will see other segments of wall placed in different locations around the state, is because we are putting wall up where we get the land rights from the landowner to be able to build a border wall. Most of the land on the border is private property, and we have to get the rights from the private property owners to build a border wall in those segments. You'll see more of these going up. You raise a question about concerns of this community, about migrants going around the wall into the community. For one thing that the border czar has done in the past is to work with local officials to address their concerns. He knows, because we've already talked about this, one of his first responsibilities is to work with the mayor in this community to make sure that we are addressing their safety needs. That also is the same role that the Texas Department of Public Safety has. We want to make sure that the surrounding community will be protected and safe as possible. But also we will be hoping that neighboring landowners in this region will allow us to be able to build a wall on their property so we can just continue to make this a continuous wall. A couple of more questions. You already got a couple of, see there's somebody else who wants to ask one. If not, we'll come to you. So listen, some private landowners just don't want a wall on their property, and so that's one. Sometimes it's the type of wall that they want. Maybe they don't want this wall, maybe they want a different type of wall, and that's what the general was talking about earlier when he talked about the more than 100 miles of different types of barriers that have been placed. And for those who don't want a wall like this, we may have different barriers that we can put up. Our goal is to be able to collaborate with property owners up and down the border so that one type of barrier or another will be able to be erected that will reduce illegal immigration into the state of Texas. Thank you all very much. Oh, and now, all right, I want to show y'all building the wall as we speak. Let me see this. Top left. Right here?
Yes, sir.
Press on that.
Yes, sir.
And then,
Top middle.
can you guys hear me? All right, good to go with the project. want to thank the governors who are with us here today. We have Governor Kim Reynolds from Iowa, Governor Kristi Noem from South Dakota, Governor Pillen from Nebraska, and Governor Stitt from Oklahoma. They're here to both tour the border, to tour what we're doing with the buoys in the border, as well as they are deploying military and or law enforcement officers to help Texas secure the border. In addition to these governors with us here today, the following governors have also provided either military personnel or law enforcement personnel. Governor Lee from Tennessee, Governor Little from Idaho, Governor DeSantis from Florida, Governor DeWine from Ohio, Governor Sanders from Arkansas, Governor McMaster from South Carolina, Governor Youngkin from Virginia, Governor Justice from West Virginia, Governor Mark Gordon from Wyoming, Governor Burgum from North Dakota. All together, counting Texas, we have 15 governors in 15 states from the United States that are deploying personnel to secure the border. Altogether, if you add in the other states that are supporting this mission, 25 governors in 25 states, half of the states of the United States of America are banding together to step up and secure a border that President Biden has abandoned. And there are some very simple reasons why we're having to do this. The primary reason is because Joe Biden is not doing his job. Joe Biden is responsible for the largest amount of illegal immigration in the history of the United States. And there are deadly consequences because of that. More people are dying per year under Joe Biden as president than under any president in the history of the United States. The border between the United States and Mexico is turning into a deadly welcome mat for the migrants who are coming here. As an example, just last year alone, there was an all-time record number of people who died crossing the border. 853 people died last year. One was an 8-year-old child who died in federal detention. Another was a 5-year-old who died drowning coming across the river. And then just last month, here in the Eagle Pass area, there was an infant who drowned crossing the border. That was before that we put the buoys up. A little infant drowned, and not a peep out of Washington, D.C. about that. And then who can forget the 53 people who perished in a tractor trailer not far from here, just down or up the road in San Antonio? It's for reasons like this why the United Nations, an agency of it, declared the border between the United States and Mexico as the deadliest land border in the entire world. Joe Biden is responsible for that deadly border. But us governors, we're not going to stand idly by and see this disaster wreaked upon the United States. And that's why they have come here and why they are sending their personnel here, because they know that we as states share an obligation, and that's to step up and respond to this unparalleled catastrophe caused by Joe Biden. And let me be clear, we are fully authorized by the Constitution of the United States of America to do exactly what we are doing, and that is to secure the border. Next up is going to be Governor Reynolds from Iowa.
Thank you, Greg. First of all, I want to just say thank you to you and Texas and all that you've done to really protect the security of the United States. Thank you for the update this morning, for giving us the opportunity to do the aerial view, to really understand the challenges that the terrain presents, to get a chance to see the buoys and the sea wires and just all of the efforts that are being put in place to secure this country. Texas has been ground zero for over 2 years because the Biden created catastrophe that we see at the southern border, whether it's national security, public safety, or just an assault on our democracy. You have been front and center through all of that. And because they have, on day one, this administration has reversed policies that protect the sovereignty of this country and the citizens, and ultimately have made every state a border state, certainly not to the extent that Texas is experiencing. But let me tell you, Iowa is located at the intersection of two major interstates, and it is a pathway for the Mexican cartel and for human traffickers to go from Mexico to the Midwest. Since 2020, we have seen a 500% increase in the amount of fentanyl that has been seized. We've seen a 100% increase in meth, and we have seen drug-related deaths increase by 35%. Earlier this year, in 90 days, from March to May, and I want to get these statistics because I don't want to get them wrong, the DPS actually seized 27,500 fentanyl tablets, 330 pounds of meth, and 72 pounds of cocaine. Again, I know that's nothing compared to what you're seeing here, but the bulk of those seizures can be tied directly to Mexico and the cartel, and we're 1,000 miles away from Eagle Pass. I want to say before I turn it back over, just as the chair of the Republican Governors Association, I want to thank the 16 Republican governors that stepped up to do the job that the Biden administration has failed to do. We have over 1,600 National Guard soldiers that have committed to help you, 330 and counting law enforcement that have stepped up. I'm proud to say that Iowa has 109 National Guard soldiers on the ground today. I want to thank my Adjutant General from Iowa, General Osborne. I want to thank him for his service and his leadership. And again, thank the Republican governors in all the states, as you indicated, for stepping in and doing what the Biden administration should be doing. The fact that the states are protecting the southern border is an assault on the Constitution and the American people. And it is time for this president to step up way past time and do his job.
Thank you, Governor. Now, Governor Pillen from Nebraska.
Well, thank you. I want to say we got to use that word "thank you" a lot. Governor Abbott, courageous leadership. It's the words I think of when I think of you to step up. So thank you for all that you've done. I want to also say thank you, Governor Stitt, Governor Reynolds, Governor Noem, for us being here together, showing great united, and the other Republican governors. I don't think we ever say enough thank you to the men and women in uniform that are behind us. They got our backs 100% of the time, and we never say it. And I need to give a shout out to the men and women from Nebraska. We've got 61 troops down. I got to spend time with at Alpha, and a couple got me behind my back, and General Strong. We got a great team. Couldn't be more proud. Maybe one piece that I can bring. I'm the newest governor. I have the privilege to take the oath of office January 5 this past year. That's very, very vivid in my mind. I took an oath. I swore to the Constitution of the state of Nebraska and to the Constitution of the United States of America to defend against all foreign and domestic foes, anybody that's trying to harm us. And I am here because we together have to work to uphold that. I like to use one word. What's my one word of what I've experienced my first time here? My word is disbelief. Absolutely disbelief of the misrepresentation. Let's just the misrepresentation of the buoys. I'm a pig farmer. It's hogwash, pun intended, hogwash. The buoys are a deterrent. They don't cause a Band-Aid, and if they do, I say, what the heck? Stay on your side of the river. The misrepresentation of who's coming. I mean, we are fighting cartels that are trying to kill our kids. Kill our kids. That's one thing in the United States we all surely agree on, right? Is our kids, that we're going to protect our kids. So my message is simple. We have to do the work, and Biden administration, federal government, do your dadgum job. Common sense solve this problem. Follow the leadership of Governor Abbott. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. Now, Governor Noem from South Dakota.
Well, good afternoon. I've been down here to the border before. This was the first time I had the chance to really see it from the air. And what we're literally witnessing is a war zone. And it's astonishing to me to watch it perpetuated by our federal government and by President Biden. I was the first state to send National Guard troops down here to participate in partnership with the Texas National Guard. And many other governors had sent some law enforcement. I sent my National Guard because I recognized what we were facing, that this really is a war. It's a war for our country and for our federal laws that have been passed in our Constitution. They are threatening our sovereignty right now, and the cartels are out for blood, and they are facilitating the trafficking of our children each and every day. That's what I find so shocking about the way that Biden continuously violates federal law, is the lack of humanity in these policies. And I hope you talk about this in your press today, and I hope you play this and you print it. These policies are inhumane of what they're doing to people and to families. The cartel is using these children to cross this border to get their drugs and to sell those children and taking advantage of them. The statistics are that over 60% of the children that cross this border will be exploited by these cartels. What's interesting is in South Dakota, yes, we've seen incredible increases in our drug proliferation in our state. We've seen incredible human trafficking consequences because of these policies here. I have another element at stake as well. I have Native American tribes in South Dakota. I have no jurisdiction on their reservations. Joe Biden is underfunding their tribal law at the same time. They are not coming out onto our tribal reservations and enforcing law and helping protect the communities there. And the vast majority of the drugs in the Midwest are coming right through South Dakota on these reservations that I can't do anything about. The people of South Dakota live with being on the front line of this mess every single day because the cartels are set up in South Dakota too. And that's what this country needs to realize, is that when you have a president in the White House that breaks the law and ignores the law, that has consequences not just here in Texas, which you have by far the worst consequences I've ever seen. And I want to thank Governor Abbott for all that he's done. He's a patriot for fighting this fight and continuing to fund it, and all the men and women that are standing up beside him, allowing him to do it. But the fact is, it doesn't stop at Texas. I deal with it every single day in South Dakota. Our crimes have gone up, our drug issues have gone up consistently, and it's because we have cartels set up in South Dakota too. So I'm all in. I've had our National Guard down here for a long time. We've had our Lakota helicopters down here on a federal mission doing surveillance on the border, and in September 1st we're going to send more troops down here. We absolutely have to show people that there's a different choice, and it literally is just enforcing the laws that we already have. You've heard our Border Patrol talk about this. You've heard our National Guard talk about this, our public safety. We don't need more laws. We just need the president to respect the laws that we already have. So thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Governor.
You're a rock star.
Thank you. Now Governor Stitt from Oklahoma.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Oklahoma, we sent troops down here in support of this mission. I think there's 16 other governors that have stepped up to the plate. Every state is a border state, and in Oklahoma, we're definitely a border state to Texas. We've seen fentanyl increase. I think the deaths have gone up 500% in Oklahoma just over the last couple of years. We know that's coming from here. I think the American people need to understand we just need a policy change. We just need to go back to the Trump era policy of remain in Mexico. So again, I like to explain to people this has nothing to do with immigration. All right, we have a great Hispanic community in Oklahoma. About 12% of our population is Hispanic. Contribute greatly to our state, entrepreneurship, just a huge economic impact. But you don't have a brain if you don't think we need to secure our border. The terrorists coming through, all the things my fellow governors have said about the crime that's coming through and the cartels that are using this and exploiting people, it's got to stop. The other thing that I think I didn't realize until I came down here that I hope you guys will report on is there's a border wall right here behind us, okay? But we can't defend the border wall. We have to go into the river and build a barrier because the policies right now, if you cross the river and you get on that side of the border wall, the federal policies right now are you get released into the U.S. You get turned over to the immigration. You get turned over. So it makes no sense whatsoever. We've got dual missions. We're just wasting the taxpayer money because we're actually trying to secure our southern border. Everybody knows we need to have a secure border. So we're glad to join in, and this guy's the point of the spear, Governor Abbott, so we're so happy to support him, and I think you'll see all the other Republican governors for sure stepping up to the plate to support this important mission and protect American people. That's really what we're here to do. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Governor Stitt. In closing, let me just say this, and that is Texans and our fellow Americans have deep gratitude for our service members who serve on the border. It includes the National Guard behind us, who wear these fatigues every day. And in this heat, it's extraordinary. They work day and night to prevent people from entering the United States illegally. They work alongside the Texas Department of Public Safety. The Texas Department of Public Safety also has been engaged in this mission 24/7 for years now. And get this very important fact for all Americans. Just the Texas Department of Public Safety alone has seized enough fentanyl to kill every human being in the United States of America. All of America could be wiped out simply by the fentanyl seized by the Texas Department of Public Safety. And we've been aided over this past year by Mike Banks, who's right behind Governor Stitt. He's our Texas border czar. He served for 23 years in Border Patrol. He brings firsthand experience and intelligence about what to do, strategies to employ, how to be more effective, and he has made us more effective. And importantly, his first day on the job, he spent more time on the border than the borders are for the United States of America. It is an insult to Americans that the Biden administration even claims they have a border czar, they care about the border. Even Joe Biden himself took only a passing trip to El Paso that didn't really go to the border like these governors went today. And yet, thousands of people are losing their lives because of Joe Biden's open borders. We as governors aim to do everything we can to put a stop to it. We'll take a few questions. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Governor. A worker from the Mexican side of the United States International Boundary Water Commission said that Texas was moving the border buoys further north to comply with that survey. Is that true, sir?
It is correct. There were allegations, which I don't know if they were true or not, but allegations that the buoys had drifted toward the Mexico side. And so out of an abundance of caution, Texas went back and moved the buoys into a location where it is clear that they are on the United States side, not on the Mexico side. I do want to add this, and that is if you look at the treaty between the United States and Mexico, that treaty specifically references buoys as a device that can be allowed in these waters between the United States and Mexico. And so it's highly recognized that buoys were acceptable and not a deterrent to navigable waters. Yes.
For right now, Trump and DeSantis are the top two Republicans in the polls at the moment. As the governor of Texas, when it comes to solving the border crisis, who would you rather have as a Republican president, Trump or DeSantis?
So listen, we just want a Republican president. I know that the country cannot suffer 4 more years under Joe Biden. America will be destroyed from within by Joe Biden's policy. Thousands more of migrants will lose their lives, but the soul of America will be crushed. But there's one team of people who's pushing back against that, and that's the governors across the United States, from the northern border to the southern border. Governors are combining together to push back against the Biden administration. Go ahead. This is the first that I'm aware of, but it shows the unity that we have in this country among governors. People have to deal with real life issues and challenges in their states all the time. I think it was Governor Stitt who said what everyone here knows. Every state in the United States is a border state. Sure, it's Oklahoma, it's all the way to South Dakota. You heard Kim Reynolds in Iowa talk about it. Look at what's going on in New York. Look at what's going on in Illinois. They may be Democrat governors and Democrat mayors, but they're fed up as much as Republicans are with the Biden administration and the way that Biden is destroying our states and our cities and our country. Americans will not tolerate it anymore. A few more questions. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe there's something.
They want
Even on a 90-degree day, they're like, get the hell out of here. Oh my God. Thank you.
I just want to check with you all. Everybody set, ready to go? Audio working okay? All right. I want to thank everybody for being with us here today. We're going to be making an announcement about unprecedented action taken by the state of Texas. Before I make that announcement, however, I want to recognize a few people who gather with us today. We have the Commissioner George P. Bush, who is the Commissioner of the General Land Office, and we are on property that is managed by the General Land Office, and he will be telling you more about what he has done to help make this process successful, if I can say it. We have with us Senator Kelly Hancock. He is the chairman of the Senate Border Security Committee. We have Representative James White, who is the chairman of the Texas House Homeland Security Committee. We also have with us, I think behind me, we have Director Steve McCraw, the director of the Texas Department of Public Safety. We have the Adjutant General for the Texas National Guard, Tracy Norris, and we have General Ulis, who is the general in charge of the border response for the state of Texas. And I have with me the chairman of the Texas Facilities Commission, Steve Alvis. And I don't know if Novak is here behind me, but I do want to express my gratitude to the executive director for the Texas Facilities Commission, Mike Novak. So let me tell you what's going on. Texas is taking what truly is unprecedented action by any state ever for a state to build a wall on our border to secure and safeguard the sovereignty of the United States as well as our own state. And this unprecedented action is needed for one single reason, and that's because the Biden administration has failed to do its job as required by the Constitution, as required by laws passed by Congress, to enforce the immigration laws of the United States of America. And the consequences of Biden's failure to do his job are staggering. Already this year, there have been more than 1.2 million people who have been apprehended coming across the border illegally. Those are the people apprehended, and do not count all of those who were not apprehended. Those people, they're not just coming from Mexico. They're coming through Mexico from more than 150 countries across the entire globe, including people coming from countries who are hostile to the United States of America. Countries like China, Iran, Syria, Russia. Also, devastatingly, what's coming across our border are people who are involved in human trafficking, which is a modern-day slavery where they are trafficking women and young children, sometimes engaged in sex trafficking, not just on the way to the border, but after they come through the border. And we're seeing something devastating that the Biden administration is not doing enough to respond to, and that is the enormous amount of the deadly drug fentanyl that's coming across our border. 2 milligrams of fentanyl is a deadly dose. And we have already apprehended enough fentanyl to kill every man, woman, and child in Texas, California, New York, Illinois, and Florida combined. There was a report that just came out yesterday saying that the #1 cause of death in the United States of America for people in the age group between 18 and 45 is not COVID, is not car wrecks, is not cancer. Instead, the #1 cause of death for that demographic group is fentanyl. Joe Biden has facilitated the death of those people by the open border policies that he has allowed to take place here in Texas, and it must be stopped. The people who are making money off of this are the gangs and the cartels, including MS-13 gang members who have been apprehended here in Texas, as well as other types of gangs and cartels that our DPS and National Guard are working to apprehend every single day. And then people in this region know about the devastating death and tragedy of a 59-year-old woman and her 22-year-old daughter just over in Hidalgo County near Mission, where a smuggler T-boned them in a car wreck and killed them. There are deadly consequences because of Biden's open border policies. And it's those deadly consequences that the state of Texas is stepping up to address through multiple strategies, including this unprecedented effort to build the border wall that you see behind us. This border wall that you see behind us is a replication of the border wall that President Trump put up. Same material, same concept. If you look at it from here, it doesn't look like those bars are all that big. I have with me the bar. This is a steel bar. It's heavy and it's wide. People aren't making it through those steel bars. Just as unprecedented as the action that we're taking is the speed within which we have taken this action. It was just 6 months ago that I signed a letter authorizing the Texas Facilities Commission to begin building this wall. Just after that, I signed 2 pieces of legislation passed by the legislature that provided $3 billion for Texas to step up and secure our border, including money allocated to build this border wall. This border wall is not only going up fast, but it's going to be equipped to make sure that we will be able to better safeguard our state, because in addition to the wall that you see, once it is completed, it will have multiple detection devices so that we will be able to constantly observe what's going on and quickly interdict anything or anybody trying to get through. And when they do try to get through, if they are able to do that, because of the policies that we have in place in the state of Texas now, the people that we apprehend will not be turned over to the federal administration just for release. People that we apprehend, they will be charged with trespassing in the state of Texas. And those charges will lead them to being sent to jail. Now, what we're doing here in building the border wall is just part of a multi-pronged strategy to do the federal government's job. We have the National Guard as well as the Texas Department of Public Safety, about 10,000 of them all together, who are working day and night to make apprehensions of people coming across the border and to push back and deter and to send back people who are coming across the border. They are establishing barriers of all different kinds to deter, to prevent people from coming into Texas illegally, including these massive containers that you see on 18-wheelers, that you see on these massive container ships. They have been put down, as well as razor wire has been put down in an attempt to prevent people from coming across the border. They have put up boat barricades in the water to deter the smugglers who are using these rafts to bring people across the border, pushing them back to Mexico so that they will not be successful in bringing people and contraband into our state, into our country. And as I pointed out before, they're using this strategy to make sure that they are not caught and released. Instead, they are arrested and jailed in Texas. Importantly, this wall that is behind me now would not have been possible without the heavy involvement of 2 groups. One of those groups is the Texas legislature, who provided that $3 billion in funding that is needed for Texas to step up and protect the sovereignty of our state and sovereignty of our country. And the second are the people who are working tirelessly every single day to execute what must be done to build the wall, and that is the Texas Facilities Commission. Now, I'm going to introduce the chair of the Texas Facilities Commission in 1 second. I do, however, want to say this. I know that in addition to the funding that the state is providing to this, I know that there are many Americans who want to be a part of this. Many Americans who are asking, what can they do to help Texas build the border wall? There is a site I'm going to give you the address of where you can go, but I want to let you know that Texas has already received well over $54 million from our fellow Americans who want to see this wall built. If you want to help in that regard, go to borderwall.texas.gov. That's borderwall.texas.gov, where you can do your part to help secure the sovereignty and safety of this country by helping Texas build more of this border wall. To tell you more about what the Texas Facilities Commission is doing to achieve this goal, I will call up at this time the chairman of the Texas Facilities Commission, Stephen Alvis.
Thank you, Governor.
Come on up. There you go.
Thank you so much, Governor. I tell you, the Governor's leadership in this, clear vision he gave us in June, help restore the public safety by delivering the most border infrastructure in the shortest possible time frame. The entire team of TFC, including all the commissioners, Commissioner Bailey's here today, Commissioner Bittencourt's here today, and our fearless leader, Executive Novak, here today, has worked 18-hour days for that 180, I can assure you. And, you know, it takes a lot to create a whole new department to build such a billion-dollar type program, and we've done it in high time. We quickly put out an RFP, followed all state procurement rules. We continue to be good stewards of the state dollars through General Broadus and Admiral Sellon, helped us create an RFP, and we awarded it to Michael Baker International and Hewitt Zoller. And it was about 30 days later, we quickly got an RFP and chose 5 very fine contractors for design build. The first one was issued to Basilico, that's building this wall here. Yes, they worked on the federal wall, did a great job. And you can see in transparency, this wall's gone up in basically 5 days. You can imagine that we could do about 200 feet a day. But this couldn't have happened without a collaboration of the state. It couldn't have happened without Commissioner Bush. He jumped into action immediately. This was identified by Director McGraw as a very difficult crime area progressing through here. You can see federal wall is just to my left, and this is state wall. And Commissioner Bush hopped in high priority, and we worked out the details to start the very first construction project #1 on this wall. Other agencies had to get involved. Our State Controller Glenn Hager had to take a role. Things that would take 2 to 3 months took 2 to 3 days. Anytime a special meeting was needed and something was ready to go, we'd call it. TCEQ, Environmental Quality, had to get involved, and they set a record pace. Texas Historical Society and the Texas Military Department. We streamlined every step, which we're known to do in Texas under the governor's leadership. So 22 days ago, we awarded the first construction contract, mobilized, and got this much wall up, and we had to shut down 3 days for weather. This is a mile 7 segment of the wall. Yes, it's on state-owned property by the GLO, Starr County. The contract we awarded it to Basilico's for 8 miles, and that'll be different segments, either direction, that we have to fill gaps. Most of the project force, all is local, utilization of local suppliers. For example, this steel came from McAllen. Strong Steel is the company. We have 1,254 miles of border on Texas. And where we're focusing first is through that collaboration with the Department of Public Safety. They know where they need the help the worst. And they have done an amazing job down here fulfilling what should be the federal government's role. So with that, Governor, I'll pass it back to you, and appreciate your leadership in this. It couldn't have been done without you.
Thank you very much. And next we have the Commissioner of the General Land Office, who oversees the land that we're on right now, who's played an integral role in this mission that we are accomplishing right now.
Thank you, Governor, and thank you, everyone, for this momentous occasion in the history of the state of Texas, in the history of the General Land Office, because it's on state acreage that we stand today where the people of Texas finally said, enough is enough. Enough of open borders, enough of disorderly chaos led by coyotes, smugglers, and traffickers and folks that would do harm to our state, and that if the Washington, D.C. establishment doesn't do their job, Texas will. What brings us to this fight is the state of Texas manages 3,100 acres. We lease this acreage to a local farmer that has raised fruits and vegetables here for generations. But yet, this year alone, he has seen on average 100 illegal immigrants, on average, every single day come across this acreage, destroying his crops, destroying his business. My singular duty is to protect the most important asset of the state of Texas, and that's the school children. Because it's all leasing revenues from state lands, whether it be oil and gas or real estate and grazing leases, that go to the benefit of public schools. And so earlier this year, I commissioned my staff to work with Texas Facilities Commission, Governor's Office, to examine every single possible avenue to defend our border and to defend the state of Texas. And so today is a culmination of extraordinary work. It's harder than it looks to build this type of wall and to do it in such a quick fashion, under budget and in time. And so I'm so thankful of the leadership of Governor Abbott and his commitment and his drive to stay on this issue. And I really want to thank also our law enforcement that are going to keep the watch as we approach Christmas, so that you and I can open our Christmas presents in a safe fashion with our families. That starts with our Border Patrol, our Guardsmen, Department of Public Safety, county officials, local law enforcement. Everybody is pitching in this historic fashion to withstand the largest surge of illegal immigration that we have seen in our lifetimes. Thank you, Governor. GLO will be with you 100% of the way.
Thank you very much. So, Commissioner Bush said something that's very important, and that is, it's a lot harder than it looks. And I want to take a moment to express gratitude to the people who are putting in the hard work. Those who, some are over here, there may be some behind me, those who are wearing the hard hats and the yellow vest, give it up for the men and women who are actually erecting this border wall. With that, we'll be happy to take a few questions. Yes.
Governor, could you explain how the state has gotten around federal regulatory environmental laws, as well as the treaty, the International Boundary and Water Treaty with Mexico of 1944, to build this structure so close to the Rio Grande?
So we are building this like any private property owner would have the right to build a wall or a fence in their own yard. And we're not using federal land, and we're using state land, or going forward, we will be using some land that we are working with private property owners to build on their property. And so the federal government has no authority whatsoever to interfere with our ability to build this wall and to secure our state. Yes. But we'll go both you then you.
Sorry. So, Governor, you had mentioned that 2 pieces of funding were going into this wall, but I hadn't heard how much each taxpayer will be having to pay for this. So, how much is that number?
Well, we didn't do the division to find out how much each taxpayer paid. I can tell you this, however, is far more than what a Texas taxpayer should have to pay. The reason is this is the federal government's job, and we're only doing it because the federal government has abandoned its duty to enforce the laws passed by the United States Congress. All President Biden has to do is simply enforce the current immigration laws of the United States of America. And because he is not doing that, Texas taxpayers are having to step up and do his job. Yes.
Could you discuss a little bit about the budget? How much does it take per mile? I think Commissioner Bush just mentioned you were under budget, but I think the General Land Facilities mentioned it was $1 billion project. Can you just kind of give us a breakdown?
Well, I can't give you a precise breakdown for this reason, and that is the cost per mile will differ depending upon where the location is. There are different types of locations, different types of walls that will be used, different standards that must be met in order to have a safe wall put up. And so that cost will vary mile by mile based upon the location where the wall is going up. Yes, sir.
Governor, has the federal government negotiated, been in any kind of contact with you guys about potentially using all that unused steel that's been left out for the federal wall? Can the state of Texas use any of that? Are you guys interested in purchasing it?
So you bring up the issue about what I hear is billions of dollars of materials that American taxpayers have already paid for that's lying on the ground in the Rio Grande Valley area that's not being used by the federal government to build a wall. That's a total waste of American taxpayer dollars. Because that property and material is owned by the federal government, we need them to provide it to us. The Biden administration has done nothing to offer that property to us whatsoever. If they want to be responsible stewards for taxpayer money, they should be providing that material either to the state of Texas or to the contractors who are working with the state of Texas. Otherwise, the Biden administration has on its resume wasting billions of taxpayer dollars doing absolutely nothing.
Will you ask them?
100%. Yeah, we are asking them, and we're getting no response whatsoever.
2 more questions.
Hi, Governor. I have a question. You talked about, trespass in Texas and migrants being sent to jail. There's currently a lawsuit by ACLU about migrants being held in the jail longer than they're supposed to, and that those who do truly qualify for asylum are not being given the opportunity. How do you respond to that?
So Texas has worked to make sure that all the legal standards that are necessary for anybody who's arrested or detained or jailed are met. The state of Texas is coming out of pocket to provide free defense for these criminals who have been apprehended. And so all the proper procedures that are required to be followed are being followed.
Last question.
Yes.
Governor, what is the projected cost of the wall, including the surveillance equipment that you just mentioned is going to be installed along the perimeter?
And again, that's a repeat of the question I just got, but the cost of the wall varies. The projected cost varies on multiple factors. One is which wall will be built, what is the terrain like, is it going to have to involve something that would involve protecting overflow water from the river or something like that? Will it be on sturdy ground? Will it be on ground that is going to be more serpentine in nature? And what land will it be on? And so there's so many factors, and then there's the number of miles involved. And so all of those factors are variables that will weigh into the overall cost.
We don't have a projected range then?
Well, I'm going to tell you that the projected range is we're going to spend as much as it takes to build as much wall as we possibly can.
Great, thank you. Governor, you're...
Oh, that's right. So I want y'all to know that we are going to show you the actual construction of the wall. And I'm supposed to press on this mic right here. And so this is the signal for the workers to actually begin working on the wall. I'm going to give it to them right now. Panel up.
10-4. I gotta get the crane started.
white satellite. I see 210s there.
It's the 210s.
He's in both of the 210s.
Yeah, that connector. So that's
Yeah. But here's the if I drive over there, maybe better, and if they could just drive me to the other side.
Okay.
Where are my drivers? So, you like it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. A couple hundred miles of this, right?
Well, I'd settle for 1,204 miles, but this is a great stuff.
This is a good-looking wall, good-looking fence.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird because when you look at it aside, it almost looks like wood.
And to me, actually has, sort of talking about, we actually have concertina wire river in front. So if they trespass, they come across there.
Right.
They can't even stay on.
So I saw it in some like update that we had. Yeah. They had laid down, I don't know, 2 or 3 miles of that range. I would have figured it'd be more like in the double digits, like 10 or 20.
They're getting after it, but I'm going to refer to General Norris on how fast can we deploy concertina wire now. I say we, the big we, meaning you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So the teams, we have a special response team that's putting constitutional wires in the GPS, identify the landowners.
Yeah.
We can put up a mile or 2.
I invite you to pray with me as I bless the food. Oh, gracious and loving God, as we're gathered around these tables, we humbly thank you for all that you've given us this past year. Not just what will be on these tables, but who is sitting around these tables today. We thank you. Lord, may you bless our time here today. Bless our conversations, the hands that prepare the meals, and our families while we are away. Bless all the men and women who wear the uniform in Texas and who are serving all around the globe this holiday season. We thank you for the honor and the ability to serve this nation and the great state of Texas. Amen.
All right, group 1, can we have you proceed forward to come and get your place? Just group 1.
Good Thanksgiving. Sure. Take a picture. There you go. There we go. Appreciate you. Happy Thanksgiving. You get one of these? There you go. Doing all right? Good. Appreciate you. Have a good Thanksgiving. Hey man, how you doing? Give that to you, then shake hands with you. Appreciate you. Be safe. Happy Thanksgiving. How's it going? Good. Good. Listen, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. Hey, I'm doing well. Yourself? Rolls the right. Hey man, how you doing? Good. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Appreciate you. Morning, sir. Happy Thanksgiving. All right. There you go. Appreciate you. Happy Thanksgiving.
I didn't know he was going to take a picture with us.
How you doing, man? Happy Thanksgiving to you. Happy Thanksgiving to you. We can do one of these. There you go.
He's slow. Hold on.
There you go. Now you are. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Wait, she's going to take your picture right here.
All right. There you go.
Appreciate you guys very much. I want you guys to have a good Thanksgiving, okay? There you go. Enjoy. You tell me when you're ready. Come on. Yes, you can. Hey, there we go. Appreciate you. Thank
I'm going to send, I'll send them to Orlando. Y'all can do it in Gotcha. Yes, absolutely.
Better than MRE. Oh, yeah, definitely.
There we go.
Got it?
Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you so much. Thank you.
There we go. Great.
Got it? Yeah. Make sure it's okay. Thank you. I'll be honest with you. You're gonna like it. You're gonna like it.
Hey, listen, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you guys. Appreciate you. Happy Thanksgiving. Sure. Hey, you want one of these? There you go. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Well, Benny's beautiful like you.
Thank you so much. Well, listen, thank you.
Thank you.
Roll it out. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Happy Thanksgiving. yourselves? Happy Thanksgiving to you. Thanksgiving to you. No choking. No choking. Whoa. That's not. I'm doing well. Yourself? Good. Thank you. How was you? How was you? I shot. There you go. Got some of these for you. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Appreciate you. Hi there. How you doing? Happy Thanksgiving to you. Oh, you don't worry about that. Don't want you to lose your food. It's going to be good. You will not go home Monday. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Appreciate your service. There you go. Give you the more. There you go. Can you take me a picture of the company? No, right? Yes, sir. There you go. Of course. Appreciate you guys. Of course. Come on over here. Here we go.
I'll get it to you somehow.
Appreciate it. Of course. Thank you. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. You take care. There you go. Give that to you. Oh, there you go. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Sure. There you go. Appreciate you.
I didn't get you either.
How's it going? I'm doing well. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Appreciate what you're doing. How's it going? Good. Appreciate you. Thank you for your service. There you go. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Appreciate you. Thank you for your service. Thank you very much. It's okay. I didn't want to be wholeheartedly. I have to take this over. There you go. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Appreciate you. Give you even more. Thank you. Appreciate you. Happy Thanksgiving. Have a good time. Thank you. There you go. I'm doing well. Yourself? Good. Appreciate you. Happy Thanksgiving to you. There you go. We're going to load you up. Thank you for your service. Of course. How you doing? Good. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Thank you for your service. Otherwise, you come back, okay? I'm doing well. Yourself? Good. Appreciate you. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Nice to see you. Thank you. I don't know what that is. Hi there. Listen, thank you so much. Thank you. Go ahead. Even more. Oh, even more. There you go. Okay. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Throw it in there. I wish I had that. set up. Happy Thanksgiving.
They sent me pictures. Well, he doesn't mind doing that.
I don't mind. Come on.
No, you. Oh.
Appreciate you. Hi there. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Thanks.
There you go. Got even more for you. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Thanks for your service out here.
Thank you very much.
Hi there. Thank you. You too. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Not much what you guys do, but we try. I just wish you guys didn't have to do our job. Hey, we're glad to help you. Not always going to be like that.
Hey, appreciate you. Thanksgiving. Sir, you were here. Thank you, sir. You are. There you go.
Come on over, get a picture. Yeah, that's a good picture.
Appreciate you. Happy Thanksgiving to you. There you go. And there's even more. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Take care.
Over here, happy Thanksgiving.
There you go. Hi there. Oh, you weren't there today? Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Happy Thanksgiving. How you doing?
Good, sir.
Good. Happy Thanksgiving to
You, sir. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Listen, appreciate you guys very much. Be safe out there.
Glad you got to see me.
Appreciate you guys. Happy Thanksgiving to you, of course. Appreciate you. Happy Thanksgiving. Appreciate what you're doing. Happy Thanksgiving. Hey, I'll be honored to. Sure. Here we go. Coming over. There you go. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Appreciate you. Here you go. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Thank you for your service. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Appreciate you. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, take one of them. Come on. All right.
How's it going? I'm doing well. Let's jump in. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Thank you. This beef. Yeah. Good. Of course. Take care. I'm doing fine. Yourself? Good. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Sir? Appreciate you. Doing well. Happy Thanksgiving. Good service. Very nice. Thank you. Appreciate it. Come on. One of these. All right, there you go. Happy Thanksgiving. Appreciate you. There you go. Of course. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Hold it. Come here. Quick. Let him have a little bit. Here, bro. Here. Appreciate you.
Okay.
Thanksgiving. Appreciate you very much. Happy Thanksgiving. How are you? Take care. Appreciate what Hi there. How you doing? Good job. Appreciate you. Go ahead. Hi there. All right. How you doing? Me too.
Awesome. Thank you. Cheers.
Happy Thanksgiving to you. Great minute. Thanks. Here we go. We'll load you up here. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Appreciate you. Thanks. I'm doing well. Appreciate you. There you go. Appreciate you. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Go ahead. There you go. We'll load you up either. Appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Yes. Hey, appreciate you very much. Happy Thanksgiving. Great to meet you also. God bless you. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Mind if we swap? Yeah. Appreciate it. Oh, no worries. Appreciate you very much. Happy Thanksgiving. Of course. There you go. Appreciate you. Happy Thanksgiving. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There you go. So look up here. Happy Thanksgiving. How you doing? Good. I appreciate what you're doing. Happy Thanksgiving. Very much. There you go. Thank you. Have a nice gift. You too. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Give more. Of course. Have a nice gift. We're running a little Yeah. What I can't tell, maybe I'll tell my mother. Thank God, thank you. Everybody I see. Thank you. I'm seeing you. Well, thank everybody for being with us here today, gathered in front of this enormous wall that is being built by Texas, paid for by Texas taxpayers, for Texas doing its part to step up and trying to secure a border made wide open by Joe Biden. I want to thank the Texas Workforce Commission, which is charged with the responsibility of leading this construction effort. I want to thank the Texas legislature for providing the funding that pays for these border walls that we're putting up, as well as other barriers. I want to thank these construction workers over here. This wall would not go up without the work of the men and women who wear the hard hats, and we thank you. And I want to thank those with us here today for this bill signing ceremony, including Lieutenant Governor Patrick, members of the Texas legislature, General Seltzer from the Texas National Guard, the Texas Border Czar Mike Banks, and Brandon Judd, the president of the National Border Council. 4 years ago, the United States had the fewest illegal border crossings in about 40 years. It was because of 4 policies put in place by the Trump administration: in catch and release, Title 42, remain in Mexico, and building a border wall. That is what led to such a low number of people crossing illegally. Now, under President Biden, he has eliminated all of those policies and has done nothing to halt illegal immigration. Joe Biden's deliberate inaction has decimated America. 2 years ago, there was an all-time record number of illegal immigrants apprehended, more than 2.3 million. That's larger than the size of Houston, Texas. Then this last year, there was more than 2.4 million people apprehended crossing the border illegally, again larger than the size of Houston, Texas. Altogether, since Joe Biden has been president, when you count those apprehended and the known gotaways, it adds up to about 8 million people crossing the border illegally. Now, I know that cities like Chicago and New York, they've had it with regard to the influx of migrants to their locations. But I don't think they truly know the magnitude of the damage caused to the United States by Joe Biden. Because 3 times the number of residents of Chicago have entered illegally under Joe Biden, and about equal the amount of total population of New York City have entered the country illegally under Joe Biden. But the problem is far more than just numbers. It's also a national security crisis. It's been reported that while Donald Trump was president, there were 11 people on the terrorist watch list who were apprehended. Under Joe Biden, however, that number has skyrocketed to 294 people on the terrorist watch list who've been apprehended. That's a 2,600% increase under Joe Biden. And it counts only those who are known to have been apprehended, who were known to be on the terrorist watch list. It does not include the people who were not apprehended, who were on the terrorist watch list, who paid more money to make sure that they were not caught They were not apprehended. Last year, there were more than 24,000 people come across the border illegally from China. The Border Patrol recently warned to take extreme caution when it learned that 10 IEDs were found just across the border. The FBI director warned that the border poses a threat to national security. And the United Nations declared that the border between the United States and Mexico is the deadliest land crossing in the entire world. Biden's deliberate inaction has left Texas to fend for itself. The authors of the United States Constitution foresaw a situation when the federal government would be inattentive to states that faced challenges at their borders. And in response, they inserted Article 1, Section 10 to the United States Constitution to empower states to take action to defend themselves. And that is exactly what Texas is doing. I will sign 3 laws today to better protect Texas and America from Biden's border neglect. The first is Senate Bill 4 from the 4th special session. The goal of Senate Bill 4 is to stop the tidal wave of illegal entry into Texas. It creates a criminal offense for illegal entry into Texas from a foreign nation. For repeat offenders, it creates the offense of illegal reentry with a potential prison sentence term of up to 20 years. The bill provides a mechanism to order an illegal immigrant to return to the foreign nation from which they entered. I want to thank the Senate sponsor, Charles Perry, and the House sponsor, David Spiller, for getting this to my desk. Senate Bill 4 is now law in the state of Texas. I'm also signing Senate Bill 3 from the 4th special session. Senate Bill 3 adds $1.54 billion more to build more border barriers and walls like what we have here. It includes also $40 million for the Texas Department of Public Safety for border security operations and increased law enforcement presence. Texas has already completed more than 16 miles of wall, and we have under construction more than 33 miles of wall. In addition to that, more than 110 miles of razor wire barrier have been laid out. This law I'm about to sign will fund many more miles of wall and barrier just like this. Senate Bill 3 will help to deter illegal immigration and support our law enforcement response to the Biden border crisis. Senate Bill 3 for more border wall construction is now law in the state of Texas. And last of the bills today is Senate Bill 4 from the 3rd special session. It involves smuggling and stash houses. Smuggling illegal immigrants has gotten out of control. In 2017, there were 370 arrests for smuggling illegal immigrants in Texas. Now in 2023, that number has skyrocketed to 7,700 arrests for smuggling illegal immigrants in Texas. That's more than a 2,000% increase. And it's not just the cartels doing it. Many Texas residents are doing it. Cartels advertise on TikTok and enticing residents to make a quick buck. Too often the smugglers are released back out on the streets. What Senate Bill 4 does is it puts an end to that process. It creates a mandatory 10-year minimum prison sentence for smuggling illegal immigrants. It also creates a 5-year minimum prison sentence for operating a stash house in Texas. I want to thank Senate Sponsor Pete Flores and House Sponsor Ryan Guillen for getting this to my desk. Senate Bill 4, cracking down on human smuggling and stash houses, is now law in the state of Texas. And I want to go back because I think before I signed the border wall funding, I neglected to mention the sponsors of that bill who deserve credit, and that is Senate Sponsor Joan Huffman and House Sponsor J.C. Jatan. Thank you all for getting that bill to my desk. Now I will turn things over to Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick.
Thank you, Governor, and thank our three senators, Senators Perry, Senator Pete Flores, and Senator Joan Huffman for their work on these three bills in their House counterparts the Governor has acknowledged. The Senate's proud to push forward the state of Texas to be the leader in defending not only the citizens of Texas, but the citizens of the United States from Biden's policies. During President Trump's last year, there were between 400,000 and 500,000 people who crossed the border illegally. And now we have seen those numbers, as the Governor acknowledged, up to 2 million or more. The 8 million that the Governor referenced, if you put them all in one area, they would be the 12th or 13th largest state in the country. And they've all come here illegally. Those terrorists, those sex offenders, those murderers that our great Department of Public Safety and our Border Patrol, our local law enforcement, that they apprehend, that's just probably a small number of those who cross that we don't see. The 8 million that Biden has let in, well, we know, you talk to law enforcement, do we get 1 out of every 2 or 1 out of every 3? We have a 1,254-mile border, Texas to Mexico, plus Arizona, plus New Mexico, plus California. We don't have enough people to be every 1/8 of a mile to catch every person. So the public needs to understand it's far worse than the 8 million. Far worse. When I became Lieutenant Governor with Governor Abbott in 2015, we increased border funding at that time. It had been about $200 million a year up until then, or less, up to $800 million for our 2-year budget. And now more than $4 billion of hardworking Texas taxpayers are going to building the wall, funding additional law enforcement, and all the costs that are involved on the social side to our cities and counties. Ronald Reagan once said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall. I say to Joe Biden, Mr. Biden, build up that wall. We need it across Texas and New Mexico and Arizona and California to protect American citizens all across this country besides in our states. The President can give everyone a great Christmas present by doing an about face and saying he will secure the border and shut it down now. Lives depend on it. Lives depend on it. We've seen recent murders, recent sexual offenses, and crime all across our 254 counties that we can trace back to many who are here illegally. Mr. Biden is putting the lives of Texans and the lives of Americans at risk in the future of our country and a potential terrorist attack. Governor, thank you for inviting us to be here with you today, and we will together do everything we can to protect this border, even if Joe Biden will not. And Senate Bill 4 by Charles Perry and David Spiller, that will be the bill that will change the dynamics of states being able to stop the invasion for ourselves. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next we have the President of the National Border Patrol Council, Brendan Judd.
Governor, it's good to be here with you today. All we want to do is have an honest conversation about what's taking place on the border. We're talking about illegal immigration. We're not talking legal immigration. We want to stop illegal immigration, and we want to protect all citizens throughout this entire nation, not just here in Texas. For that reason, I'm so grateful to Governor Abbott. I'm so grateful to be able to be here on behalf of all of the men and women of the United States Border Patrol nationwide, not just in Texas. Your efforts have saved lives. Not just the lives of U.S. citizens, but the lives of illegal immigrants as well. If it wasn't for what Governor Abbott has done, for his leadership, Lieutenant Governor Patrick, we're grateful to you as well. The leadership that we have seen has saved lives, and these bills that have now become law will undoubtedly save more lives of U.S. citizens and those people that want to cross our borders illegally. What this will do is this will allow us to go after the cartels. It will allow us to go after the profits that is fueling what we're currently seeing on our border today. If we can take out the profit of the cartels, we can stop illegal immigration. We can stop the flood of drugs that are coming into the United States that are killing so many of our fellow citizens. If we would have the strength of will, like what Governor Abbott has shown, with all of our governors on our southwest border, this problem would go away tomorrow. We have to have proper policy that doesn't cost the taxpayer a dime. If we had that policy, we would be able to secure the border tomorrow. And these steps that a governor is taking, rather than the President of the United States, is going to save thousands upon thousands of lives. And for that reason, Governor, all of the men and women of the United States Border Patrol are extremely grateful for all that you've done. Thank you.
And we do once again give our gratitude to the men and women who serve in Border Patrol across this nation. We know that they are committed to the cause. We also know they have a president who's tied their hands. The president must let those Border Patrol officers do the job that the laws of the United States of America command them to do. But I want each of them to know the gratitude that I, as governor, and that the people of the state of Texas have for their service. Now, the President of the United States, Joe Biden, created a new position called the Border Czar. The Border Czar, Kamala Harris, has never actually been to a real border like this with a real border wall and encounter illegal immigrants coming across the border. In Texas, because the National Border Czar was not doing her job, I created a Border Czar. His name is Mike Banks. Our Border Czar lives and works on the border every day. And he served for more than 2 decades as a Border Patrol agent himself. He knows the border. He knows immigration. He knows how to address people coming across the border. And he's provided a high level of expertise for the state of Texas in a response to the border crisis caused by Joe Biden. So our next speaker is Mike Banks, the Texas Border Czar.
Thank you, Governor. In the absence of the Biden administration, America has become saddled with the disaster open border policies that this administration has put upon us. Just remember, Joe Biden and Secretary Mayorkas inherited the most secure border I've seen in my lifetime, and they've managed to turn it into a complete disaster. I'm thankful for Governor Abbott for stepping up and protecting not only Texans, but the rest of people that are in the United States of America through Operation Lone Star. For decades, I served as a member of federal law enforcement and as a Border Patrol agent. I went toe-to-toe with the cartel, and I understand what it takes to defeat a monstrous organization such as the cartel. And what that takes is sweeping measures, real action, and strong consequence. That we see Governor Abbott continue to do day in and day out. Under Governor Abbott's leadership, Operation Lone Star has deployed tactical infrastructure in the form of sea wire, anti-climb fencing, and tactical marine barriers. This tactical infrastructure has allowed us to create great deterrence along Texas as we continue to build the wall that you see here today. But I want to explain something very clearly. Walls alone will not solve this disastrous border crisis that the Biden administration has created. What will is consequence for violating laws, combined with the probability of arrest and prosecution for coming to this country illegally. Today's bill signings by the governor will allow Texas to continue building the wall such as you see here today, while empowering our law enforcement officers to arrest those who come into Texas illegally. It will also enhance criminal penalties for crimes such as smuggling and stash house operations. As a veteran Border Patrol agent and as Texas border czar, I want to thank the Texas legislature for their continued dedication in protecting our great state, but I really want to commend Governor Abbott for having the moral courage to defend Texas and our country when President Biden refuses to do so. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you. In Texas, we have a National Guard that understands a core mission, and that is to protect and secure the United States, including the state of Texas. And they have the flexibility to be able to maneuver in ways to address unusual circumstances. And that's exactly what they're doing in Texas as we speak right now. Texas has had to deploy thousands upon thousands of Texas National Guard members to safeguard the border itself. They have undertaken the construction of much of the concertina wire, razor wire border barrier, and then stand guard behind that barrier, denying illegal entry to people who try to enter the United States illegally. They have repelled or turned back more than 75,000 people who attempted to enter into Texas illegally. I want to thank General Seltzer, the Adjutant General of the Texas National Guard, for his leadership of this extraordinary team. And at this time, I introduce General Seltzer.
Thank you, Governor. The Texas National Guard, your National Guard, remains decisively engaged with thousands of troops from El Paso down to Brownsville. In this effort, we've constructed over 72 miles of fence, as the governor said, 110 miles of concertina wire, and in our latest effort to block migrants into the United States, we have started putting up over 1,400 anti-climb barrier panels. To date, we've put up 575 of these 12x8 panels. They're used in conjunction with fields of concertina wire to protect the sovereignty of the state of Texas. Additionally, we are employing new surveillance vehicles that will provide overwatch using day-night cameras and radar that can track over 300 contacts in order to get after the gotaways that are getting into the country. These temporary barriers are in place while Texas undergoes its unprecedented effort to build its own border wall. I'd like to thank the governor for your relentless efforts to protect Texans, Lieutenant Governor, and the legislators behind us for giving the Texas National Guard all the tools they need to keep Texans safe.
Thank you very much. And last, I want to thank the Texas Department of Public Safety for also being flexible in their duty to safeguard our state. They've deployed an extraordinary number of DPS troopers to border regions across the entire state. And they have arrested thousands upon thousands of extraordinarily dangerous criminals who've come across the border and made Texas safer because of it. We wouldn't be the state that we are without our DPS troopers. With all that said, we'll be happy to take a few questions.
Governor, your message to some of the residents.
Go for it.
Thank you, Governor. What is your message to some of the residents of Brownsville who are worried that there could be some side effects to these laws that could lead to profiling or improper detention of law-abiding citizens and their loved ones?
So one thing that officers understand, and that is wrong to profile. The goal of these laws is to make sure that when they see somebody crossing over the border, as the National Guard see, as the Texas Department of Public Safety see, they know that they're not profiling. They are seeing with their own eyes people who are violating the law. And now they're going to have the ability to arrest them and prosecute them, make them subject to jail, make them subject to being sent back, and then make them subject to even greater penalties if they dare come into Texas a second time. So the only thing we are doing by this law is making sure that our law enforcement have the tools they need to actually take action against those who are actually coming across the border illegally.
Governor, every day there's about 10,000 people that come over the border. How many arrests are you expecting under this program? And what is your message to someone who came over last year to be working in a kitchen in Houston? What is your message to that person?
So we anticipate with SB 4 that cracks down on illegal entry, that should reduce the number of people coming across the border. We've already seen.
How many will you arrest every day?
Well, let me finish this, and I'll try to more fully answer your question. If you talk to Mike Banks or talk to General Seltzer, one thing they can tell you is that because of the actions that we've already taken, Texas, which used to be number one for illegal crossings, now has been displaced by Arizona, which is number one for illegal crossings. My point is that actions and deterrence work in causing the migrants to go elsewhere. With SB 4, the consequences of it are so extreme that the people being smuggled by the cartels, they will not want to be coming into the state of Texas. The cartels will not want to be coming into the state of Texas. And so we expect a dramatic drop, well over 50%, maybe 75% of the people coming across the border illegally will stop entering through the state of Texas. And where the cartels may take them after that, I have no idea.
What about someone who's already here who came in last year and into Texas now? What's your message to that?
The personnel that are focused on the mission of SB 4 are in the border region. That said, there are cases that will expand beyond that. As an example, you'll have people across the border illegally. They'll get into a vehicle. There will be a smuggler driving them. It could be a San Antonio, it could be at a Houston, it could be wherever they're going. And there is a lawful way now that law enforcement has where they can trace down that car and arrest the smuggler as well as arrest those that came across the border illegally.
Governor, are you trying to overturn Arizona versus the United States?
We believe this law has been crafted in a way that can and should be upheld by the courts on its own without having to overturn the Arizona case. That said, it does open up the possibility for the Supreme Court to reconsider the Arizona case, remembering that Justice Scalia wrote a dissenting opinion in that case, pretty much laying out a pathway that he thought would be a legal way for a state to go about the process of enforcing immigration laws. So again, we think that Texas already has the constitutional authority to do this, but we also welcome a Supreme Court decision that would overturn the precedent set in the Arizona case. I'll let her follow up. Say it again.
Training for police officers, because the bill does not appropriate money to train police officers, and at least one union in Texas is very concerned that police officers are not going to be prepared to enforce the law. How do you plan to train police officers to make sure that they can enforce the law in Texas?
So a police officer, a law enforcement officer, does not get to take duty on the streets without being trained. Training is a core component of someone who gets the badge and gets the responsibility to patrol the streets.
Will the arrests continue? And what about these arrests, these trespassing arrests? Do you feel that
successful strategy to keep implementing?
So we believe that the trespassing arrest, so you're talking about the trespassing arrest, not this. It's hard to say whether or not the trespassing arrest will continue with the effectiveness of SB4. SB4 may replace the arrest for trespass. That said, it's very important to understand anyone trespassing can still be subject to arrest. And so both can work together at the same time. It's just that with regard to SB4, especially for those who are caught in act, crossing the border illegally, it seems like the tools in SB4 are stronger, especially as it concerns setting the precedent for a repeat offender who could wind up behind bars for 20 years.
Governor, time for one more question, guys. What will happen? Mexico has said they likely would not accept the migrants Texas wants to send back. What will happen to that?
What would happen if Texas doesn't accept the migrants that Mexico sends to Texas?
But the law is expulsing them.
Exactly. So, listen, we're a border and it goes both ways. Mexico can stop all of this. Mexico actually is a cause of part of this. Why is Mexico allowing so many illegal immigrants into their country and then fast-tracking them to the state of Texas? What Lopez Obrador has done is reprehensible, subjecting thousands upon thousands of people to torture, to rape, to assault, to even death. And he just fast-tracks them to the state of Texas and thinks he can condemn Texas because of it? That's outrageous. He needs to understand that he is a large reason for the migration problem that we have in the United States of America.
Well,
and
what will happen to the migrants that are trying to be sent back?
we're going to send them right back to Mexico.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Governor?
Good job.
Understand you're going to Thank you.